Week 6, lecture number 7. Hello friends, this is the last lecture in the series of grief and bereavement, that is the week number 6. Before this we already discussed about the various models of grief and bereavement and the psychology of grief and bereavement. So naturally now the last step in grief and bereavement is how to manage grief and bereavement. You will find certain repetitions in the slides. We'll try and skip those slides. But two things are very important in this last lesson. That first is there are certain myths I have given out, certain false notions about grief and bereavement that we'll discuss. And secondly, steps for managing grief. So this lesson is basically two parts. Part 1, the grieving process, and part 2, how to manage grief. This we have been saying, now we all understand that grief is not a disorder, a disease or a sign of weakness. It is not a sign of weakness. If something happens and if somebody is crying, we say no, he is crying like a girl or a boy, small boy. No, it is not that. Some psychological reactions, a person is crying. So it is not a disorder, neither a disease nor a sign of weakness. It's an emotional, physical and spiritual necessity. The price you pay for love, the only cure for grief is just to grieve and nothing else. You can't keep all those memories inside. Sometimes needs to be expressed, otherwise it will just burst out. Part 1, the grieving process. These two children lost their mother, and just see how is the father loving and looking after and hugging the children, keeping them together. Grief, natural response to loss. Any loss can cause a grief. Now I generally, again, I give now certain reasons. Almost earlier I was saying a loss of loved one, number 1, and major losses. So here we are just getting into detail. What sort of loss? I have given 12 losses, can be many more. Divorce or relationship breakup. Serious, normally though we do break relationship, we make friends and again then we get parted, this is normal affair. Serious affair, and when it gets broken up, it can cause a grief. Loss of personal health, your own health. Others' health, it will not affect so much, because yes, if a young child is there, chota bachcha, and if he falls sick and really he is having a serious trouble, terminal illness, then because it pertains to your own child's health, it might cause a grief to you. Losing a job, yes, because it will create an economic crisis. How do you get money to feed your own people? Losing a job will bring you what? Financial stability. You become financially unstable, and whatever it is, without money nothing moves in the life. Our life basically moves on a wagon with the money wheels. If money wheels are not there, our wagon of life does not move forward. A miscarriage, yes, sometimes you don't have child, you got married and till 40, 45 you don't have any child, and around that time, after a long married life, your wife, she has conceived and miscarriage takes place. You wanted a child to come up to your home, you are just waiting so eagerly, and miscarriage. So yes, grief. Retirement, this is also there. After retire, if you have not planned your retirement and after retirement life, then it can cause you a grief. Let me take few minutes of mine, my dear friends. I am a soldier, and I had made my retirement plans when I joined the army. I had decided that I will take premature retirement from the army when around 50. After 50, what will I do? I had planned. I am very emotional about my own family, about my society and my own country. So to my nation, I gave my 50 years of very precious life. And when I came out of army, I had already planned that I will do social service, and therefore when I was in the army, I had organized an NGO, and immediately I started working in my NGO. And social work is as lovely, as important, as dear to me the way I did my soldiering in the army. I was never unhappy. I am equally happy, I am equally busy when I was in the army and now also when I am out of the army. If you plan your retirement, my dear friends, then there is just no grief. One must plan the retirement. After 60 years when I retire, what will I do? Important steps you need to take. You must have a home, and second step, you must have a financial stability to look after yourself. So when all these steps are made, how will you pass your time? Because after retirement you have got 24 hours to stay at home. People do not plan, and then the problem starts at home. Plan your retirement life and you will never have a grief after retirement. Rather, after retirement you will enjoy the life, you will be happier. Death of a pet, yes, some people they love their pet so much. Cherished dream where you have dreamt of becoming an engineer or doctor. You join the medical college, but somehow you just cannot finish your MBBS graduation. You can't complete it. So your dream gets shattered, maybe because of certain accidents and other things. You love somebody, she is seriously ill. Loss of a friendship, very close, dear friendship for over 3-4 decades, if it gets broken up. Loss of safety after trauma. After you suffer a trauma, social support and all those things, they were available to you, but then later on they have been withdrawn. And selling the family home. People are attached to their parental home because you are staying in the parental home, and your father and grandfathers and grandfather, they are staying there. So you have got so much of attachment that this is my own, and you don't feel like selling your paternal home and properties and other things. So there can be many more things, and again everything, the grief depends upon the personality, emotional personality of the person. Grieving process. Now let's talk about the myth. Myth, people say the pain will go away faster if you ignore it. Sorry my friends. If you ignore it, it will not go away faster, because this is a psychological reaction, and it's a natural reaction. It remains with you. If you try to ignore your pain or keep it from surfacing, will only make it worse in the long run. So for real healing, it is necessary to face your grief and actively deal with it. Confront with the grief, yes, accept it and express it to the people. Ki yaar, very bad, I'm so sad that so and so has passed away. I really loved him. Express it. Don't ignore it. Don't keep it to yourself. Myth. People think it is important to be strong in the face of loss. No, my dear friend, there is no question of getting stronger against psychological reactions. It's all normal. Feeling sad, frightened or lonely in a normal reaction to loss. Crying doesn't mean you are weak. You don't need to protect your family or friends by putting on a brave front. Showing your true feelings can help them and you. Tell them it's normal reactions. You also do the same thing, let your family members also do the same thing. You don't have to be so strong that you just ignore it. Third myth. If you don't cry, it means you are not sorry about the loss. No. Big no. Crying is a normal response to sadness. But it is not the only one. I never cry. I just never cry in front of anything. Anything happens. I never cry at all. Doesn't mean that I don't feel sad. I do feel sad. Equally, rather, more than what other people are feeling about that incident, Those who do not cry may feel the pain just as deeply as others. They may simply have other ways of showing it, I may cry sometimes after a month or so. I may express it to somebody with whom I am so close by, okay, I'm really sad, So crying is not the only expression of grieving process. Grieving should last about a year. We discussed already that there is just no normal time to be fixed. We can't fix that grieving should be over in 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. No, it can carry on. It depends on the personality. It depends upon the situation. And later on, now try and understand, grieving gets converted into memory. You see, we do remember our parents. We do remember those friends who are not with us now. I'm 70 plus. We are not grieving about it because it's a normal process. They came, we had a very wonderful company. Jab tak jinda the, we are together, and now he has left it, fine. Those beautiful memories are with us now. Moving on with your life means forgetting about your loss. No. Big no. Moving on means you have accepted your loss, but that is not the same as forgetting. You accept it because it is the reality of life. Nobody is going to stay here forever. People have to come and go. Janma hota hai, wo marta hai. It's very normal, simple. We have accepted the fact, but does not mean that we have forgotten our parents or our friends who have just gone to heavenly abode. You can move on with your own life and keep the memory of someone or something you lost as an important part of you, and that you must be knowing it. You know it, you are doing the same thing. But at the same time, you are having your own personal life. Dealing with grieving process, acknowledge your pain, accept the trigger. The grief can trigger many different and unexpected emotions. Understand that your grieving process will be unique to you. It's individualized. Seek out face-to-face support from the people. No problem. It doesn't show that you are weak. You need the support, you are asking for it. Support yourself emotionally by taking care of yourself physically. Emotional and physical, they are interdependent. Physically, you must remain strong. And if you are strong physically, automatically your emotional stability will not be disturbed. Recognize the difference between grief and depression. Grief will lead you to depression if it's a prolonged grief. 5 stages we already seen. Grief can be a roller coaster. Roller coaster means sometimes it goes high, sometimes it comes low, and this is what happens. So you should not worry about it. Sometimes you really remember the people, your parents and other friends, who are not with you now. You are missing them. For 1, 2, 3 days you keep on, you get disturbed. You may not get sleep also. But then again after 2, 3 days it's over, fine, So this will keep on happening. Nothing new about it. It's not a disorder. Symptoms of grief, 2 types: emotional symptoms and physical symptoms. Emotional: shock and disbelief, sadness, guilt, anger and fear. Now, this we must understand. Guilt will come when you have done something wrong intentionally to that person whom you are missing now. Therefore, my dear friends, always respect your elders, respect your parents, respect your friends. Don't make any mischief with them, because all of a sudden, when they will not be with you, you will have a guilt feeling in your mind and it will remain so. So, make your life lovely, forgive and forget, and particularly look after your parents and elderly so dearly that you don't have regrets later on when they die. Otherwise, you will feel, oh, I could not look after them. I should have looked after them well, So, this is the time. Physical fatigue, nausea, lowered immunity. Lowered immunity means when you become physically weak, your body immunity decreases. People must have seen this during COVID time of 2 years, 2020 and 21. People lost their immunity and therefore they suffered. So emotionally, when you become weak, physically also become weak. Try and do regular exercises, be stronger physically, and then emotionally also become stronger. And the question of lowered immunity does not arise. Weight loss, aches and pains and insomnia, these are the physical symptoms of grief which can happen. Seek support for grief and loss. We said sometimes it is getting out of hand and grief prolongs longer. It is better to seek support from psychiatrist or some counselors. How do you take the support? Turn to friends, close relatives, and what sort of support you do? You don't require a support to do this. No, it is not that. Turn to friends means just go and speak to them about your feelings. I'm feeling so sad. By saying these things repeatedly, automatically your grief will be reduced. Emotional support. Except that many people feel awkward when trying to comfort someone who is grieving. Remember this thing also, when you are grieving, it is not necessary that other people will also speak something. No, like I never speak anything. I just remain silent. When somebody comes to me with so much of unhappiness and this and that problem, I just listen to him. Very active listening, I nod my hand. Sometimes smile. Sometimes ask a small question. But I remain in silence and I am all throughout present. My mind is there. And that is how he gets the emotional support. It is not necessary that every time those people will speak to you, no, theek ho jayega, things will be all right. No, it is not required. Silence is also a type of language, non-verbal language, and it is more powerful than what you speak. This is the occasion, this is the condition, this is the situation where words are not enough. Silence is enough. Silence is important. Silence is powerful. And silence will convey that you are with him in his grief. Draw comfort from your faith. Faith means religion, your Kul Devta, God, Goddess, whomever on whom you have got full trust. Join a company of support group, friends, talk to a therapist or counselor. That is the finest thing. But I am sure if you talk it out, social support, I say time and again. This is the key in all psychological distress, including grief and bereavement. Use social media. Nowadays, of course, WhatsApp and other things are there. You put a post that you are lost so and so, and you will get so many messages. Okay, we are with you, and we pray God that the departed soul gets Sadgati, peace of mind, and so many things will come. It will make you happier that people are with you. I never post anything on WhatsApp. I generally speak straightway. I pick up my mobile and just speak to the guy for just less than about 20 seconds only. Yes, I am with you now. Postings to social media is very important. Give it out. It's one way that you express your sentiments and feelings, psychological feelings. Take care of yourself as you grieve. Face your feelings. You have to face. Express your feelings in a tangible or creative way. Write about your loss on a piece of paper. Again, when you write a loss, your feelings will come out. Try to maintain your hobbies and interest. You know what happens? Hobbies and interest, you get really activated in those lines. You don't have any time to think about your grief, think about the loss. Like when I am talking to, I just forget every damn thing. My whole mind is into this lecture. Similarly, if you have a particular hobby, cycling, mountaineering, going around into the forest or going to the riverside, seeing sunset, sunrise, listening to the birds, these are all hobbies. Writing, reading. So hobbies means what? That particular work which comes from your heart and your mind is not involved. That is the hobby. You are fully in that particular hobby. How the time passes, what's the environment doing it, you are just unknown about it. You are just with your hobby, with your work, which you really love. Don't let anyone tell you how to feel, and don't tell yourself how to feel either. Plan ahead for grief triggers and look after your physical health. To me, this is the most important thing. Physically, if you are strong, you can face everything. When grief doesn't go away, it's a serious problem, and it is called a complicated grief. We just said 3 types of grief: anticipatory grief, second is the normal grief, and third is the complicated. So when the grief becomes complicated, it is necessary to go to a doctor, to a counselor, and talk about it. Symptoms of complicated: intense longing, intrusive thoughts, time and again the thoughts of that departed soul comes into your mind. Denial, you still think that no, he is not dead, he is in this room, and then only you go and open the door and you don't find him there. Imagine that your loved one is still alive. Such things are happening. Searching for your deceased love in a familiar place, avoiding things that remind you of your loved one, extreme anger, feeling that life is empty or meaningless. These are some of the symptoms of complicated grief, and that will bring you psychological trauma. Let's see the difference between grief and depression. Grief and clinical depression is not always easy, as they share many symptoms. Similar symptoms are there in grief and depression. Some of the symptoms, they are there in both the processes, but there are ways to tell the difference. Remember, grief can be a roller coaster. It involves a wide variety of emotion and a mix of good and bad days. Even when you are in the middle of the grieving process, you will still have moments of pleasure or happiness. With depression, on the other hand, the feelings of emptiness and despair are constant. When you are depressed, your life is totally hopeless, empty, dark. Whereas in grieving process, roller coaster, sometimes you'll be happy, and when the memories come back of the departed soul, of the lost person, again you feel sad. Can Antidepressants help grief. As a general rule, normal grief doesn't warrant the use of entry. Normal grief I'm talking about, because it is normal. It has come and it will go on its own. While medications may relieve some of the symptoms of grief, it cannot treat the cause. The cause, what is the cause? That you have lost somebody whom you love the most. If you take medication, is he going to come back? No. The cause will remain there. So it is basically for you to understand the reality. Medication will not do anything at all. Furthermore, by numbing the pain that must be worked through, eventually antidepressants delay the mourning process. Let the pain be there, there is no problem. And therefore in our culture, in our Hindu culture, we have given 12 days for mourning after the death. On 12th day we have certain rituals, havan and other things, we worship, and that's the end of it. And then it may continue a month or 2 months. Certain social procedures are there. In my state, in Gujarat, yes, it continues till 1 month. Continuous means what? They wear a different color of sari, they don't go out, they don't enjoy. Such things carry on, maybe a month. For certain people, if a husband has died, wife generally remains at home for 3-4 months like that. This is the grieving process. You don't require any medications. When to seek professional help? We saw that. Hospice care, we spoke about hospice care in the first itself. Yes, hospice has a program or facility that provides special care for people whose health has declined to the point that they are near the end of their life. Such programs or facilities also provide special care for their families. I said that palliative care is the only stream of medicine which looks after patient's family after the death of the patient, bereavement and grieving process. So if hospice can provide that, yes, one can go to hospice, but I am certain that situation will not come if a very old person, he or she doing in such a process prolonged grief, can take shelter of the hospice. Steps for managing grief and loss. 7 steps. First and most important, give yourself permission to grieve. You don't have to be stronger. I'm strong, I'll not cry and I just deny it. I want to tell others that this doesn't have any effect on me. No requirement. Grief is a psychological reaction. Just take it as such and give all the permission to yourself. Whatever you are feeling, express it out. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to tell others, just say others. But don't keep it inside and show that you are strong enough not to show the grief. Write a letter to the deceased one. Yes, this is very good, and this will help you when you are guilty about it. Like you are a son and you have not looked after your father very well. You had enough money, everything, all the resources, but you neglected your father when he was ill. And now all of a sudden he dies. No, you are a son after all. You know that you could have looked after your father. When you are a child, he looked after you, he gave you education, he put you in a job, he loved you so much. And when he needed your time and looking after you, did not do it, so that guilt is there. Okay, my God, I didn't do it, I should have done it. I should have helped him like a Shravan. Shravan, all of you know. His parents were dead and they wanted to go on pilgrimage. He attached 2 baskets on a bamboo pole. In each basket, he put his mother and father, and he went around walking on foot. We expect our children to be like Shravan, helping their parents, and which you could not do it, so you have a guilt. Now, nothing can be done about it because your father is gone, but the best thing is you write everything. Father, I am really very sorry that I could not look after you. and at that time your tears will roll down and they will drop on that later, and your father will come to know. Your guilt, when your guilt will be relieved, will be a happier person. You can write, you can make a journal of positive memories, what your father has done, or anybody. I'm just giving you an example that you have lost a father. Talk to someone who is important to you, who is very friendly to you, and who has got time to speak to you. Understand, grief affects everybody. Grief affects everybody. It's not age specific or limited to certain population. Children, teens, adults, everybody grieve, but they grieve in a different ways. Lend a supportive ear to others. When somebody comes and talks to you, listen to him properly. May someone else's grief doesn't affect you in the same way or much at all, it is still important to support your loved ones during their grieving process. Be there to listen and comfort them. And last, prepare for recurring grief. Grief is like a roller coaster. It goes. Have you seen roller coaster, or have you enjoyed roller coaster? It goes up and down. Up it goes, you feel happy. Again it comes down. It's just like that. The grief also, sometimes it is there, sometimes it is not there. And it may come any time, because whenever you remember, again it comes back, again only for a few days. So you should be ready. Yes, it can happen like this, So these are the 7 steps for managing grief and loss. Healthy ways to cope with the loss. Generally repetition is there, but we'll just see. Turn to friends, talk to them, draw comfort from your faith, trust your God, and just feel that whatever God is doing, it is okay, and accept it. Join a support group, talk to a therapist. Healthy ways to cope with loss: face your feelings, express your feelings, look after your physical health. This is very important. We have generally seen this is repetition. How to help a friend with a grieving process? Listen with your heart. When a friend comes to you and speaks to you about his loss, listen to him silently. Be compassionate. Avoid cliches. Time will heal all wounds, and all these things are not required. I said silence is most important in such cases. In such cases, silence is very important. Don't have to speak anything. कि समय सब कुछ ठीक कर देगा, नहीं हर एक के माता पिता तो मर जाते हैं. No, all these things are not required to be told. Time will do, time will heal. People die, parents die. No, all these things are not required to be told. Just sit silently. At times, put your hand on the back. Understand the uniqueness of grief and offer practical help. Ask him what can he do for you. Any work which with external word, even requires food, provide food, some cleaning things. If buy is not there, yes, I'll send some assistance. This way ask for the practical help, what he can do, because that fellow doesn't want to go out for a few days. So such sort of thing you can do that. Make contact on his behalf. This is what I had done number of times in my society. Once a gentleman died, I went up, did this or that, but it was night time and he was dead, so there was no requirement of taking him to the hospital. But then I immediately asked the wife, do you have any diary in which numbers are written? She gave me the diary. I said, whom should I contact now? Kisko message देना है? Just tell me and tell me how he is related to you. So she gave me the numbers. He is the brother and bhabhi and this and that. Okay. I contacted these people. This is the way you can help. Write a personal note be aware of holidays and anniversaries and understand the importance of loss. This is the way you can help a friend. You can write a small personal note also, okay, I'm very sorry. This is what we do nowadays on WhatsApp also. 1 year after it passes, again you can remind him, anniversary. And always remember, loss is a loss, my dear friend. Like we said, bad news is always a bad news. This is about breaking bad news to a patient that you are suffering from really a nasty disease and you have got limited time. Bad news is a bad news, and similarly such loss, a personal loss is a personal loss. We cannot call him back from the heaven. Seek help for grief. We saw that hope is the last word. Hope will do everything correct. Every day may not be good. Every day may not be good, but there is something good in every day. Do you understand it? Every day may not be good, but remember there is something good in every day. That is the hope. Remember, you don't get over it, you just get through it. You don't get by it because you can't get around it. Doesn't get better, it just gets different every day. Grief puts on a new face. That's all, my dear friends. We spoke almost for 1 week about grief and bereavement, and I'm certain you must have understood certain issues. You must be knowing earlier also, particularly, but I'm sure I could have thrown certain more light, and you are better equipped to understand such a situation when it gets around, it comes across, and maybe anywhere for that matter. Okay, thank you very much.